Today, I'm reading number 15 from The Reality of Being, the fourth way of Gurdjieff. Last time I said the fourth way to Gurdjieff. The idea is not to get to Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff is not some enlightened state that we aspire to. He is simply a teacher, a philosopher, a mystic, many things to many people. He's a name that we gather around that I guess you could say has a cult-like status, but Gurdjieff teachings and the fourth way are definitely not a cult. They, if anything, are another language of practices that are out there. Many, many practices. Buddhism, Christian mysticism, some yoga, psychology. Some say that internal family system psychology incorporates Gurdjieff ideas. Anything where we recognize that as we operate in the world, we're not being true to ourselves. And then taking a step back even further, we come to realize we're not sure who the self really is. When we say I am, we don't say it with 100% sincerity. We say it as a placeholder. We simulate our lives. The world is a stage. So this is by Madame de Salzmann, who studied as a pupil under Gurdjieff, took on the work during and after his death, has a son and grandson, and I think a few other relatives, including her husband, who were involved with the work. And I think it's her grandson now that runs a Gurdjieff Foundation. But the point of today's video is just reading this simple chapter that is worded in very bold phrasing. Here we go. It's called Hypnotized by My Mind. An inattentive mind is filled with thoughts. In a passive state, it is constantly creating images and applying them to what I observe. The images provoke pleasure or pain, which is recorded in my memory, and illusions form around desires for satisfaction. In observing from a fixed vantage point, this mind creates a kind of separation, an opposition, a judge that reacts to everything with a preconception based on what has been learned. This inner disposition is one of the greatest obstacles to receiving impressions, any impression, judging oneself, judging another, judging others, judging, no matter what. In truth, our entire life is colored, even directed by this tendency, which is stronger than we are. Whenever and wherever it arises, this judging shows that our ordinary I is involved. And that's not I like I, that's I like I am. So whenever and wherever it arises, this judging shows that our ordinary I is involved. There is not a moment in the day when we stop judging, even when we are alone. It keeps us in ferocious slavery, enslaved by what we believe we know and what we believe ourselves to be. There is in me an essential energy that is the basis of all that exists. I do not feel it because my attention is occupied by everything contained in my memory: thoughts, images, desires, disappointments, physical impressions. I do not know what I am. It seems that I am nothing. Yet something tells me to look, to listen, to seek seriously and truly. When I try to listen, I see that I am stopped by thoughts and feelings of all kinds. I listen poorly. I am not quiet enough to hear, to feel. What I wish to know is more subtle. I do not have the attention that is required. I have not yet seen the difference between a fixed attention coming from only one part of myself and a free attention attached to nothing, held back by nothing, which involves all the centers at the same time. I'm going to read that sentence again. I have not yet seen the difference between a fixed attention coming from only one part of myself and a free attention attached to nothing, held back by nothing, which involves all the centers at the same time. My usual attention is caught in one part and remains taken by the movement, the functioning of this part. For example, I think about what I am feeling, and my thoughts responds. I think about what I am feeling, and my thought responds in place of me. I think about what I am feeling, and my thought responds in place of me. It answers with a knowledge that is not true, not an immediate knowing. My thoughts are merely the expression of what is stored in my memory, not revelations of something new. This thinking is enclosed in a narrow space within myself. Always preoccupied, it holds back my attention in this place, isolated from the rest of me, from my body and feeling, with my attention continually projected from one thought to another, from one image to another in a flowing current. I am hypnotized by my mind. These thoughts and all my desires, affections, fears are connected only by habits or attachments, which link each one to the next. My attention is caught in this current because I have never fully realized that it was given to me for another purpose. Could my mind be silent in its perception? Could it perceive without recognizing and naming? That is, without separating to be someone who looks, judges, and knows? For this, I would need an attention I do not know, an attention never separated from what it observes, allowing a total experience without excluding anything. It is only when I exclude nothing that I am free to observe and understand myself. When my brain can be active, sensitive, alive in a state of attentive immobility, there is a movement of extraordinary quality that does not belong just to the thinking, the sensation, or the emotion. It is a wholly different movement that leads to truth, to what we cannot name. The attention is total, without any distraction. In this state, I wish to see if I am capable of not knowing, of not putting a name on what I perceive. I have a sensation of myself, which my habitual thought calls body, but I do not know what it is. I have no name for what is here. I am aware of tensions, even the smallest, but I do not know what tension is. Then I feel breathing, which I do not know, in a body that I do not know, surrounded by people I do not know. My mind becomes quiet. I begin to see that real knowing is possible only in the moment when my attention is full. When consciousness fills everything, then there are no distinctions. One thing is not more than another. There is pure existence. The creative act is the vision of what takes place. I learn to watch. Again, that's from The Reality of Being, The Fourth Way of Gurdjieff by Jeanne or Madame de Salzmann. You can pick it up from Amazon, Shambhala Publishing. I think it was like $25. Thank you. Okay, so I just rewatched that. I just rewatched the recording of me reading, and I tried to be fully present to myself, sort of imagining if I was a viewer tuning in, and I was distracted by all sorts of things to the point where I became hypnotized in a sort of spacey state where my brain was like, this is just some guy babbling on in front of me. And my mind wandered to other things. Then there were times where I got distracted by little runaway hairs on my beard and checking out my hair. These things that, as St. Paul says, I know what is right, but I do not do what is right. I have a mind in me that has a plan, and things don't go according to plan. And the most basic breakdown of this is in our focus, in our attention. And I'm reading this other book called The Heart of Buddhist Meditation. And let me see if I can grab that real quick. This is a great book. I love this book. I'm so glad I picked it up. I found it in a used bookstore. It is by Nyanaponika Thera. Probably said that wrong. But I think he was Sri Lankan. And it goes over so far why we meditate, why mindfulness, why breathing exercises, and why quiet and sitting. And I think the passage that I read before from The Reality of Being explains the why pretty well, or at least the last 15 chapters have really been going into a self-effacing person, Jeanne de Salzmann, who kept a journal of her noticing her inattention. There's something breaking through. There's some kind of light that is breaking through to her that she'll feel, and she'll know kind of takes over. And it seems like the theme of this is know your powerlessness, know your fallen state, in the sense that you want to be an attentive being. You want to be a present being. I don't know if there's anyone in this world that does not want to be immediately present and soaking up life and the present moment and the beauty and the gift and compassion that others share. To be a good friend is to be fully present. To be a good relative is to be fully present. To be good to oneself is to be fully present. The good, the true, and the beautiful. This is universal. And Buddhism explains or indoctrinates that the reason that we feel suffering is this dissonance in ourselves between wanting to be present, wanting a real connection, and just feeling like that's beyond our reach, that it's just out of reach. We might leave a dinner date with a friend and have that sting of regret that we could have been more present. And it's harder with our phones. But it's always been difficult for human beings, at least in the ages that we have record of, to be fully present. And so I encourage you to leave a comment if you were able to pay attention this whole time. That's great. I wasn't, and I have no blame, no judgment towards anyone that fidgeted or let their mind wander or became bored, or hey, if you clicked off this video, I get it. The next thing I want to do might be kind of strange for you, but I want to do something we do in the work, which is called sitting. And what I'm going to be doing is also discussed in, like I said, Gurdjieff work is in other practices too. This talks about this concept of touching and sitting. And so what they mean by touching is the mind touches the arm. The mind touches the leg. My teacher in the Gurdjieff work says, have a mental photograph of your arm exactly as it is right now. Put your hands down on your legs, sit up straight, and produce a mental image, a mental photograph of your arm as it is. Try to relax. Come back to the breathing if you get distracted. And it was this last chapter that I was in of this Buddhist meditation book, where it talks about actually first starting with the not so much the breathing, but the rhythm of the stomach going in and out, the diaphragm, and just paying attention to that in and out. They actually call it being born and dying. Being born and dying. Realizing that everything is in transit. Everything is in passing. And I won't go into too much detail. There's a lot of other great things in this Buddhist meditation book, but we're going to just sit for 5 minutes. And I encourage you to do this practice with me. I usually do it for 20, but for the sake of YouTube and attention spans and my own time schedule right now, we'll do 5. And I'll be silent, but I will be practicing the touching, the sitting. And what that means is body part, my whole self. Body part, my whole self. And if I become distracted and my mind wanders, I bring my mind back to the rhythm of the diaphragm or the feeling of breath in and out of my nostrils. So I'm going to set the timer. Let's make it 6 so I get a little extra time. And start it now. Thank you for joining me. Well, that got cut off. I apologize. My work phone rang. Let's see. So that's part of the practice. Life happens. And as Pema Chodron would say, we don't kick the tires. We let things go. We let our expectations go. And of course, my expectation was 5+ minutes of silence. But then the phone rang. Pick it up. There's another human being on the end of that phone. We don't need to lose that presence. If we're only being present during a sitting, and then we go out and are losing our cool, we notice that. We put our attention there. We remind ourselves that losing our cool and letting our temperature rise is anger. And we want to be free from anger. And this practice is simply letting go. It's recognizing what the heart wants and then really looking, or really noticing how we're not looking, and returning to the breath, returning to the rise and the fall of the diaphragm, returning to attention to our own body, letting go of tension, not controlling the breath, but coming back to it. We want to let all that tension go under our legs, those long muscles from our butt to the backside of our knee. We want to make sure that all those muscles are loose down to our calves and our feet, to the point where our childlike nature wonders if we may float away, because we're letting go of all that extra, I'll call it gravity, that muscle tension, that itch, that tick, that insecurity the body has of holding on, of clenching down. And it's the body simply saying, I'm here. I'm here. And so we recognize the body as being here, as being present. And we direct our attention to the jaw, the eyes, the back of the head, the neck. We try to straighten our posture so our breathing is correct. And we relax into it. We breathe into it. So we'll talk about some other practices on a next video. I like this format of reading to Salzmann but I don't want to just leave it at the reading. And I'm the kind of person that reads multiple books at a time. I have 4 that I'm currently reading. So the cool thing about that is that I can skip around or find synchronicities. And I think this time, both of these books are really touching on a common thread. So thank you, and may you be well. Blessings.